This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Cops probe death of cabbie in apparent freak accident at Clarendon home. Police in Clarendon are probing the death of a man who apparently bled to death at home on Tuesday. The dead man has been identified as Liebert George Rose, a 60-year-old taxi operator from School Road in Thompsontown, Moko in the parish. It was reported that Rose and his girlfriend recently moved into a house a little over a week ago and occupied the front bedroom that they rented. Police said last Sunday evening, Rose arrived home wet due to rain, and since then, he was observed to have flu-like symptoms. He was coughing and vomiting up to 2 days after, but was hesitant to go to the doctor. About 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday, he was reportedly in his bedroom, sitting on a chair in the presence of his girlfriend, when he fell over backwards and hit the back of his head on a section of a dresser. He landed on the floor and was bleeding from the back of his head. Police said he managed to crawl across to another section of the floor where he lied on his back and apparently bled to death. The woman, the police said sometime later, called another tenant of the dwelling and showed her Rose's body on the floor. The tenant contacted the police. On arrival, lawmen saw the body lying on its back, clad in only red Tommy Hilfiger underpants. There was a small pool of blood on the floor to the back of the head. Other bloodstains were seen on the floor, mostly beneath the dresser. The body was then removed to the Maypen Hospital, where it was confirmed dead at 10:50 p.m. and then transported to a funeral home to await a post-mortem examination. Defense attorneys remain wary of prosecutors' right to appeal sentences following historic court decision. Attorney-at-law Dion Myler Barrett, who represented murder convict Lindell Powell, is warning that Friday's historic Court of Appeal ruling, which overturned his 12-year sentence and substituted life imprisonment instead, has set the stage for potential unfairness to accused persons and a possible abuse of the system. Powell, who was convicted of a double murder, was sentenced last December to 12 years imprisonment on each count. Using the new law which allows the prosecution to appeal, the DPP appealed the sentence, and in Friday's judgment, the Court of Appeal quashed that sentence and imposed the life imprisonment with the proviso that he will be eligible for parole only after serving 24 years behind the bars. Mrs. Myler Barrett, speaking with the news, said while in principle she has no issue with the law itself, as long as they exercise the power properly in appropriate cases, she does fear what could happen. Nevertheless, she cautioned against the opening of a Pandora box in which the power of appeal might be exercised inappropriately. In that regard, therefore, she raised the possible need for a power and an authority to watch the power who wants to exercise the authority.
As long as they exercise the power properly, I don't have a problem with that. Because the court of appeal, that's their function to find when errors happen. And errors will happen from time to time. They might even want to appeal when a jury says somebody is not guilty and they believe that the person is guilty. We have opened up Pandora's box. But if the power is exercised correctly in appropriate cases, then there should be no problem with it. So we need a power and authority to watch the power who wants to exercise the authority.
Leonard Green, president of the Advocates Association of Jamaica, who had expressed the fear that the law could be abused, remains firm in that view following Friday's Court of Appeal decision.
It can be something which can get out of hand. We hear the assurances of the Director of Public Prosecution, but at the time, our fears were genuine and our fears were real. Now, if it is that it is not an abuse or does not allow for abuse, we have no problem with it. So I think the Director's office must be vigilant. That is their responsibility. And the public out there have a sense of what is just and what is fair. And if in fact a sentence seems, as the legislation points out, manifestly inadequate, there is absolutely nothing wrong. And if the DPP exercises that power with care and with discretion, we at the bar have no problem with that at all.
Search on for 8-year-old boy reported missing for over 2 months. A high alert has been activated for 8-year-old Zane Roden of East Shedwin, Greater Portmore, St. Catherine, who has been missing since Sunday, July 24. A release from the Corporate Communication Unit, the police information arm, on Friday, October 26, says Roden is of brown complexion, slim build, and is about 3 feet tall. Reports from the Halfway Tree Police are that Zane was last seen at home at about 6 p.m. wearing a blue t-shirt, gray shorts, and slippers. Efforts to locate him have been futile. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Zane Roden is asked to contact the Halfway Tree Police at 876-926-8185, the police 119 emergency number, or the nearest police station. Jamaicans in constant fear and trepidation over rising crime, says Lambert Brown. Opposition Senator Lambert Brown has lamented that Jamaica is in a state of constant fear and trepidation with the ever-rising murder rate and the seemingly inability of the government to do anything about it. Brown, who made the comments in the Senate on Friday during his contribution to the State of the Nation debate, pointed to the spate of recent murders, which included the shooting deaths of 2 policemen less than a week apart in the corporate area, as well as the fatal shooting of 3 people at a football match at Spring Village, St. Catherine. Noting that as a country, we mourn the victims' families, Brown said, "Time come to do more than mourning. We need to force these evil gunmen on the retreat." Still pointing to recent murders, Brown said, less than 2 weeks ago, the internal auditor of the Ministry of National Security was brutally slain by gunmen in Portmore as he transported workmen from a work site. This happened in the early afternoon. Through social media, the nation was taken to the horrendous murder of a businessman in Green Island, Hanover. This brazen and cold-blooded murder took place in broad daylight when 2 gunmen walked into the supermarket and killed the proprietor. They calmly packed their bags with the stolen goods and nonchalantly walked out into the public space as if nothing happened. This is frightening. The businessman was identified as the 36-year-old Heejing, and the 3 people were subsequently arrested in connection with the daring robbery that ended with his murder and which was caught on camera. These murders are but a small subset of the 1,265 murders committed in Jamaica between January 1 and the last Saturday, October 22. This is an 8.1% increase over the same time last year. That is 95 more people murdered this year to date over last year. This is a major reason for the state of fear gripping our nation, Brown stated. Declaring that the fear was palpable, Brown said, "You can literally feel it among our citizens. Nowhere in Jamaica is safe. Normally quieter parishes have seen dramatic increases in murders." He listed the following: St. Thomas murders up 52%, St. Elizabeth murders up 63%, St. Mary murders up 76%, Trelawney murders up 107%, Manchester murders up 117%. This is a sad and fearful reality facing the Jamaican people, Brown said. He noted that a media personality recently tweeted in all caps, "I am afraid of Jamaica." He said she was not alone, as another young person summed up the fear and the trepidation as follows: "Tired of saying RIP, tired of wondering who will be next, tired of being scared it might be me." Brown pointed out that the Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, recently beseeched the nation to seek a divine intervention in the fight against the crime, asking that prayers be made on behalf of the embattled National Security Minister, Dr. Harris Chang, as he grapples with the country's high murder rate and an increase in antisocial behaviors. Added Brown, "I urge us to heed the call of Minister Bartlett. Let us not subject his call to ridicule, as some in our society and even in this chamber did when Senator Peter Bunting, then Minister of National Security, made that call some years ago." He then turned to Bunting, who is leader of opposition business in the Senate, and declared that Senator Bunting, history is absolving you. Continuing, Brown said that in addition to prayers not just for Minister Chang, but the families of victims and the society as a whole, we need effective action from the government to prevent and reduce the high murder rate. He added that this government is failing to reduce the high murder rate it promised to do in 2015 when it was in opposition. Then we were told that if we voted for the JLP, we would be able to sleep with our windows and the doors open and wake up and still be alive. We were also told then that there is a lot that can be done to reduce murders in Jamaica. Those were the words of then opposition leader Andrew Holness. By now, all Jamaica knows that is a big lie. It was a promise aimed at fooling the gullible. The truth is that every year since 2016, the number of murders in Jamaica has been higher every year than any of the years under the PNP when Senator Bunting was Minister of National Security, Brown said. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.